Welcome to the Naval Reserve Application Information Session. If you're thinking about applying to the Canadian Armed Forces, or if you've already applied and you're looking for more information on the application process, or if you're just curious about what part-time sailors do, you're in the right place. The first big decision you have to make if you're applying to the Canadian Armed Forces is if you want to apply to the regular force or the reserve force. The biggest difference is that the regular force is full-time employment and the reserve force is part-time employment. There's a couple other differences I'd like to touch on. In the reserve force, there is no long-term commitment. If you're enrolled as a member of the Naval Reserve, you're signing up for an indefinite period of service, which means that you can voluntarily release at any time. If you're enrolling in the regular force, you will be committing to a terms of service, which could range from 3 to 5 to 7, even to 9 years in duration, depending on your occupation and the training requirements. Another key difference between the reserves and the regular force is where you're going to live. In the reserves, there's no requirement to relocate. You will travel for training, but you always return to your home unit. If you do choose to move to another one of the 24 cities in Canada that have Naval Reserve divisions, it's easy to transfer to another division and have a job in any of those 24 cities waiting for you. In the regular force, there may be a requirement to relocate if you're posted to a different location based on the needs of the organization. Let's talk about some of the benefits in the reserves. As I mentioned before, we are required to travel for training courses in different locations across Canada, and whenever you do any full-time employment or travel with the reserves, all of your expenses are covered, including your flights, transportation to and from the airport, your food and accommodations for the duration of the training. Physical fitness is important in the Canadian Armed Forces, so we do have the benefit of sports period and equipment, meaning that I get to work out during my working hours. I don't have to squeeze it in on lunch hour or after work, and also we have facilities available. One of the benefits that I enjoy as a Naval Reservist is a flexible work schedule. We'll go into more details on the working hours later on in the presentation, but for now, know that any full-time employment opportunities are voluntary based on your availability. Another great benefit is dental coverage. So even as a part-time employee, you have access to 90% coverage for routine dental work. This is very important to someone like me who is self-employed while I was working part-time with the reserves. And when I turned 25 years old and was no longer covered under my parents' dental plan, you find out how much the dentist costs. Next up, we have the pension plan. So again, as someone who is self-employed and working part-time with the forces, I very much enjoyed having a job where I knew I was paying into a pension. And finally, it sounds a little cliche, but with the Naval Reserve, you have an opportunity for many challenges and adventures. We have the opportunity to deploy around the world for training and operations. It's also a great way to build your resume. If you're a student and your part-time and summer job involves training in various skills, leadership, and responsibility, it looks really good when you graduate and you're ready to hit that job market. Let's talk about salary. So in the reserves, we have different classes of pay: Class A, Class B, and Class C. Class A is the standard part-time wages. We pay by the day, not by the hour. So if you work for 6 hours or more, you get the full day rate, and if you work for less than that, you get a half day of pay. If you're working Class B or Class C service, that is full-time employment with the reserves, and you'll receive a full-time salary. The starting wage for a Class A non-commissioned member is about $100 a day, and once you've completed training in your occupation and achieved the rank of Sailor First Class, it goes up to $160. There are incremental pay raises between those rates, and I've included a link in the description for a full salary breakdown. For Class A officers, the starting rate is $118 per day, and again, once you've completed training and achieved some promotions to the rank of Lieutenant Navy, it goes up to $213 per day. Now that we've looked at the pay rates, let's talk about the difference between officers and non-commissioned members. So officers are the leadership in the Canadian Armed Forces, and in order to apply as an officer, you need to have a baccalaureate degree or be enrolled in a degree program. Non-commissioned member simply means everyone else who hasn't taken their commission as an officer. These are specialist and skilled workers in their occupations, and in order to apply as a non-commissioned member, you have to have at least completed grade 10 of high school. While we're talking about application criteria, I'll also mention that in order to apply as a member of the Canadian Armed Forces, you must be a Canadian citizen, and you must be between the ages of 16 and 57. Let's talk about the different occupations that we have available in the Naval Reserve, and we'll start with non-commissioned members. As you can see on this list, the occupations that are bolded are currently open for application, meaning that we have positions available. The positions that are not are what we call controlled. This means that if you really have your eye on one of these jobs, you can still apply for it, but we can't guarantee that there will be a position available. However, new positions are becoming available all the time, so as long as you have one of the bolded choices as your second or third choice in your application, you're good to go. We'll start with boatswain, or for short, bosun. Bosuns are the seamanship specialists. They operate on the upper decks of the ship doing all kinds of sailor activities, and here at Naval Reserve Divisions, they're operating the small boats. In addition to that, they are our weapons specialists for small arms. So all members of the Canadian Armed Forces are required to be trained on the C7A2 service rifle. In addition to that, bosuns are also trained on the Sig Sauer pistol and the C9 light machine gun, as well as the mounted 50 caliber machine gun on the ships. Next up, we've got Naval Combat Information Operators. This is currently an in-demand occupation, so if you're interested in information systems, radar, tracking, and things like that, this is the job for you. Moving on, we've got Naval Communicators. Naval Communicators are responsible for all forms of communication, from signal flags, Morse code, all the way up to encrypted satellite messaging. They also work as our network administrators, so if you're into IT, this could be a good fit for you. If you're looking at being a tradesman in the civilian world, Marine Technician is for you. Their primary responsibility is the propulsion of the ship and maintaining the diesel-electric generators on board. In addition to that, as your career progresses, you could be working in electrical systems, heating and cooling, and welding. Marine technicians also receive advanced training in firefighting and damage control and are key members of the ship's emergency response teams. We have a port inspection diver team here at HMCS Chippewa. This one speaks for itself. If you're into scuba diving, this is the job for you. If you like to work in an office, we have opportunities available for financial services administrators and human resources administrators. Financial services administrators deal with pay, entitlements, and benefits and manage our finances and budget. And human resources administrators take care of our sailors' human resources needs. Again, this job speaks for itself. If you like to cook, this is the one for you. I'll also mention that cook is in demand across the Canadian Armed Forces, and there are many employment opportunities available. Next up, we've got materials management technicians who are responsible for procurement, supply chain management, and taking care of all of our equipment and resources. Then we've got the best job in the Navy, musician. And you might be surprised to learn there are many like me who started out as a musician and have progressed in their careers to fill key roles in our organization. Currently, the executive officer, the facility manager, the training chief, and many other key roles at HMCS Chippewa are filled by musicians. Let's talk about officer occupations. Again, the positions that we have available are in bold, and right now that's only Naval Warfare Officer and Chaplain. However, I'll remind you that this changes all the time and you're welcome to apply for any one of these roles. Naval Warfare Officers are leaders in the Navy. If you're looking for a leadership role and you're interested in going to sea, this is the job for you. Logistics officers work in a variety of fields, including administration, supply chain management, and health and food services. So they are the supervisors for the human resource administrators, financial services administrators, materials management technicians, and cooks. Intelligence officer is about as cool as it sounds, and it is very popular right now. I'll be straight with you, we do not currently have any positions available for intelligence officer, and due to the high volume of applications, I'm not super optimistic about positions becoming available in the near future. However, again, you are welcome to apply for this position as long as you have a second choice selected as well. Public affairs officers are responsible for our communication strategies with the Canadian public and the media. We are currently looking for a chaplain at HMCS Chippewa, so if you have a master's in divinity and you're interested, look me up. Okay, now that we've talked about all the different occupations we have available, let's take a closer look at what the job entails. So regardless of your occupation, all members of the Canadian Armed Forces are required to complete basic military qualification. In the reserves, we deliver basic military qualification training in the following format. It's divided into 3 modules. Module 1 is 1 week of distance learning. This is about 40 hours of online coursework that you are paid to complete. Module 2 is 15 days of full-time training that is completed at your home unit. Now this training can either be done on a part-time program or a full-time program. If you choose the part-time option, it is completed on our regular training schedule, which is Tuesday and Thursday evenings and 1 weekend per month. And if you do it this way, it takes about 3.5 to 4 months to complete. If you choose the full-time option, it is offered a couple times per year on a 3-week course that runs from Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Moving on to Module 3, this is the residential portion. That means that you will be traveling to a training location, usually in Valcartier, Quebec, to complete your training. For non-commissioned members, the residential portion is 3 weeks in length, and for officers, it is 5 weeks in length. Once you successfully complete basic military qualification, depending on your occupation, you will be required to complete the Naval Environmental Training Program. This is kind of like basic training round 2 for the Navy, where you learn about damage control, firefighting, and general seamanship skills so that you can be safe on a ship. There are also a number of other courses that are required for all members regardless of your occupation, including first aid training and weapons training. Once all of your general skills and training are complete, you'll move on to training in your selected occupation. So let's take a closer look at the working schedule. How do we get all of this training completed if it's just a part-time job? Well, we run on an annual training cycle from September until May. So beginning in September, we work on Tuesday and Thursday evenings. Tuesday evening is training night, which means all of our ship's company is required to attend. And then Thursday evening is administration night. So typically it's officers, managers, and senior staff. We train an average of 1 weekend per month. I stress the word average because sometimes it's a little more, sometimes a little less. That's what average means. We also have the opportunity to complete national and regional level training exercises, which means that we get to travel to complete training. I'll be flying to Victoria next week to be an instructor on a course. If you're a student or you have some time off and you're looking for extra work, there's almost always extra work around the unit to get done, so you can pick up a few more hours. So that's what the part-time schedule looks like from September until May. Then in the spring and the summer, we offer full-time training courses at various training locations across Canada. Remember, in the reserves, we are flexible with your civilian employment and other commitments, so going on these training courses is based on your availability. And as I mentioned earlier, all of your travel expenses, food, and accommodations are provided while on these training courses. And just in case I wasn't clear, all training is paid. In the Naval Reserve, you are getting paid to learn new skills. Finally, let's talk about what a longer-term career in the Naval Reserve can look like. Once you've completed the required training in your occupation and you're fully qualified, you're eligible to apply for full-time employment contracts. There are many full-time employment opportunities available for reservists, such as a handful of positions working full-time in your local Naval Reserve Division, administrative and training positions at different locations across Canada, and of course, deployments on ships. So that concludes our description of the job in general. I hope you've learned a little bit more about the Naval Reserve, and next up we'll be talking about the application process. Moving on to the application process, I'll start with an overview of all the different steps and then I'll break down each one individually in more detail. Step 1 is to submit your online application. This can be done at forces.ca, link in the description below, and click on the Apply Now button. Once your online application is submitted, you'll receive an email with all the information you need to begin gathering your documentation and all the forms that you need to fill out to continue with your application. Once you've confirmed that your original documents and forms are complete and ready for submission, you'll receive an invitation to schedule your initial processing appointment. Your initial processing appointment will consist of the Canadian Armed Forces Force Evaluation, our Physical Employment Standards Test, as well as the Canadian Armed Forces Aptitude Test. At this appointment, we'll also collect all of the required documentation and go over your forms with you to make sure that everything is filled out correctly and ready for submission. Once you've successfully completed the aptitude test and force evaluation, we will submit your documentation for reliability status, which is the screening for your security clearance. After that, you'll be scheduled for your medical appointment, which will take place at the Canadian Forces Recruiting Centre because we don't have medical staff here at the Naval Reserve Divisions. Then you'll be scheduled for an interview with a military career counselor to determine your suitability and eligibility for your selected occupations. Finally, if you're successful in all of the application criteria, you'll be selected for enrollment based on the availability of the positions that you've applied for. Once selected for enrollment, you will be invited to attend an enrollment ceremony where you will be sworn in as a member of the Canadian Armed Forces. Let's go back to the beginning and talk about the online application. Once you've located the online application on the forces.ca website, click on Start Application Now. You will have two options to initiate your online application, either continue to sign-in partner or continue to GC key. Using a sign-in partner is just using your banking credentials or one of our other partner organizations to log into the system, or you can create a new account for your application called a GC key. There are a few steps involved in creating your application account, such as creating a username and password and security questions. If you read the instructions carefully and follow all the prompts, you should be able to figure it out. However, if you're having any issues, you can contact a recruiting center and we'll help you out. In order to join the Naval Reserve, you must have Canadian citizenship. The online application may state that under certain circumstances, permanent residents may be eligible to apply. However, these special circumstances generally apply to the regular force, and we are not currently accepting applications from permanent residents to the Naval Reserve at this time. As we talked about earlier, the first thing you'll have to do is to determine if you're applying for the regular force or the reserves, and also if you're applying as an officer or as a non-commissioned member. You will also be prompted to enter a Reserve Unit Identification Code, or UIC. For HMCS Chippewa, our UIC is 1331. It would be helpful if you can look up the UIC for the unit that you wish to apply to, as that will ensure that your application is sent directly to that unit. If you don't know the UIC of the unit that you're applying to, it's not the end of the world. Your application will still be submitted. Next is your job preference selection. I will let you know that the selections offered on the website are not always up to date with the positions that we have available, so please keep that in mind. Select the positions that you're most interested in, and your application will go through to the recruiter who will help you figure out what job is going to work for you. At this point, there will be many forms and lots of personal information to fill out. If you're having any difficulties with these sections, you are able to fill out this portion of the application with your recruiter on paper forms. However, it can speed up the process to do it online. Next up, we have the force evaluation. The force evaluation is a physical employment standards test. The activities in the test have been designed to simulate activities that may be required in the line of duty. The force evaluation includes 4 sections: the 20-meter rushes, the sandbag lift, the intermittent loaded shuttles, and the sandbag drag. There are videos available online with detailed descriptions of the force evaluation, which I'll link below. Next up, we have the Canadian Forces Aptitude Test, or CFAT. The CFAT is a multiple choice test consisting of 3 sections: verbal skills, spatial ability, and problem solving. There is an official practice test available at canada.ca, which I will link below, and there are many other study resources available as well. However, these ones are not associated with the Canadian Armed Forces. I highly recommend that you complete the online practice test, and a good tip is to time yourself during the test, because one of the things that applicants struggle with is the time limit and running out of time while they're writing the test. If you find the practice test difficult or you're running out of time, I would recommend that you research some additional study resources. If you contact your local recruiter, they can provide a list of recommended resources. Next up, we have the reliability status. Your recruiter and file administrator will handle submitting the reliability status on your behalf, including a criminal record check. Your part in this is to complete all the forms correctly and provide your references. Please make sure that all the contact information that you provide for your employment references and your personal references are up to date. Next, we have the medical exam, which again will be completed at the Canadian Forces Recruiting Centre by their medical staff. It is completed in 2 parts, which will include a questionnaire and a physical exam. If you have any questions about the medical, please direct your questions to the CFRC medical staff, as your recruiters will not be qualified to answer medical questions. It's important to prepare for your interview. I highly recommend that you watch all of the videos associated with your occupation available online and read any of the handout material that your recruiter has provided. You will be asked to describe your understanding of the occupation that you're applying for, as well as questions related to general service in the Canadian Armed Forces. Finally, if you have been successful in all elements of the application and we have a position in your occupation available, you'll be invited to an enrollment ceremony. If you're interested in seeing what an enrollment ceremony to the Canadian Armed Forces is like, we have a video for that. Thank you very much for your time today. If you found this video helpful, please give us a like, and if you're interested in more Naval Reserve content, you can click to subscribe. If you have any questions about anything we've talked about today, please feel free to ask in the comments. Have a good day.